Dear students, today we will discuss the fundamentals of entropy. Entropy is a real physical quantity, yet it is difficult to arrive at a physically comprehensible definition for it. When I say comprehensible, it is difficult for us to get a physical sense of entropy. For example, when we say an object has a particular length, we are able to see its length and also measure the length of the object with a scale. Now, that is not possible for entropy, and in that sense, it is not possible for us to physically understand what entropy is. At the same time, in general, it is understood as the degree of disorder of the concerned system. I repeat, it is the degree of disorder of the concerned system. Now, let us consider a system undergoing a Carnot cycle represented on an indicator diagram. An indicator diagram is a PV diagram, and on the PV diagram we have pressure indicated along the y-axis and volume indicated along the x-axis. You can see here we have four lines A, B and CD which are adiabatics, E, F and GH which are isothermals. The four together combine to form a cycle. We say it is a cycle because you can see that it starts from here, proceeds in this direction along an isothermal, then it comes down in this direction along an adiabatic, then it goes back along an isothermal, and then it reaches back to the starting point. So a cycle is completed. Now, how do we differentiate between an adiabatic and an isothermal? You can see that the adiabatic is always steeper. This is steeper compared to the isothermal. The isothermal is marked red in color. The adiabatic is pink in color. So you can see that the pink line is much more steeper. Both the adiabatics are steeper as compared to the isothermals. Together, the four lines constitute a cycle, and we reach the point from where we started off. Along adiabatic AB and CD, there is no heat exchanged or given to the system or taken from the system. That is, Q is equal to 0. At the same time, there is a finite Q in the case of the isothermals. That is, for isothermals, Q is not equal to 0. That is, there is a definite exchange of heat between the surroundings and the system. Let Q1 be the heat gained by the system along the isothermal EF. This is the isothermal EF. So the heat gained along the isothermal is Q1. Similarly, the heat lost along the isothermal HG is Q2. The heat gained along the isothermal Q1, then we have the heat rejected by the system along HG, it is Q2. Now, by definition, the entropy is the ratio of heat exchanged by a system to the temperature at which the exchange of heat occurs. I repeat, by definition, entropy is the ratio of heat exchanged to the surroundings, that is Q, to the temperature T at which this exchange of heat occurs. This ratio is known as entropy. That is, S is equal to Q by T. Therefore, along the isothermal EF, the entropy change is Q1 by T1. Along the other isothermal, that is this isothermal HG, the change in entropy is Q2 by T2. So I repeat, the change in entropy along EF is Q1 by T1. The change in entropy along HG is Q2 by T2. Here we have an increase in entropy Q1 by T1, then there is a decrease in entropy Q2 by T2. We are speaking from the point of view of the system for which entropy change is taking place. Thus, the total change in entropy is Q2 by T2 minus Q1 by T1. However, we know that for a reversible cycle like a Carnot cycle, which we know is completely reversible, Q1 by T1 is equal to Q2 by T2. Thus, delta S here will turn out to be 0 because these two terms are equivalent. These two terms are equivalent, and therefore delta S must be 0. This is something very specific to a reversible cycle. Thus, the entropy remains constant for a reversible cycle. When the adiabatics in the figure which we discussed right now, that is the adiabatics in this figure. When the adiabatics tend to be very close by, in the sense the second adiabatic I draw over here, so we have adiabatics very close by. In that case, we say ds is dq by T, where T is the temperature at which the change occurs. dq is an elemental change in energy or heat, and ds is an elemental change in entropy. Entropy is also defined as the definite multiple of the natural logarithm of the thermodynamic probability. I am not going into the details of that. However, thermodynamic probability is indicated by omega, and entropy is mathematically defined as S is equal to k log omega, where this log is the natural logarithm, and the unit of entropy is joules per Kelvin. Now, the sign convention of entropy is very sensitive, in the sense the above definition for entropy, we don't know absolute entropy. What is absolute entropy? That is not properly defined. We are speaking about change in entropy always, and the change in entropy is S2 minus S1. Okay, that is the final entropy minus the initial entropy. But this particular statement is from the point of view of an external observer. That is, S2 minus S1 is the entropy for an external observer. At the same time, from the point of view of the system, the change in entropy is S1 minus S2. So this is something which has to be clearly taken in. Till this point of time, we were discussing about the Carnot cycle, which is a reversible cycle. Now, let us speak about an irreversible cycle. As for an irreversible cycle, we know that its efficiency is different from that of a reversible cycle. The efficiency of the system undergoing the irreversible cycle is different and lower from the efficiency of the system undergoing the reversible cycle. That is, it is the Carnot's reversible cycle which has the maximum efficiency, that is Carnot's theorem. So here we have the irreversible cycle which has an efficiency, let us call it eta dash, given by 1 minus q2 by q1, where q1 is the heat absorbed by the system and q2 is the heat rejected by the system. And this efficiency of the irreversible cycle is eta dash is equal to 1 minus q2 by q1. Now, comparing this efficiency with that of the reversible engine working between the same limits of temperature T1 and T2, the efficiency of such a system is eta is equal to 1 minus T2 by T1. Here we have two expressions, one for the reversible cycle and the other for the irreversible cycle. Now, from Carnot's theorem, we know that eta dash is lesser than eta. As already stated, that is, the efficiency is always lesser for an irreversible cycle. So, substituting these values of efficiency eta dash and eta and using it in Carnot's theorem, we get this expression 1 minus q2 by q1 is lesser than 1 minus t2 by t1, which implies that t2 by t1 is lesser than q2 by q1, or q1 by t1 is lesser than q2 by T2. Thus, the entropy from the observational frame of reference delta S is S2 minus S1, that is Q2 by T2 minus Q1 by T1 is positive because this term Q2 by T2 is larger. Therefore, the entropy delta S is positive. Thus, there is an increase in entropy of the surroundings. Now, speaking from the observer's point of view, the change in entropy is Q1 by T1 minus Q2 by T2. From the system point of view, the change in entropy is Q1 by T1 minus Q2 by T2, because this is the entropy gained, this is the entropy loss. So, for the system, delta S is Q1 by T1 minus Q2 by T2. Now, since Q2 by T2 is larger, this delta S is negative. So, for the system, the entropy change is negative. Delta Q by T integral is 0 for the reversible cycle, and for the irreversible cycle, delta Q by T is lesser than 0. Combining these two, integral dq by T is lesser than or equal to 0 for any possible cycle. This is the famous Clausius inequality. I repeat, integral dq by T is lesser than or equal to 0. This lesser than sign is applicable for the irreversible cycle. The equal to sign is applicable for the reversible cycle. Combining these two, we have the expression integral dq by T is lesser than 0. This is the famous Closius inequality. It is seen in irreversible processes that there is an increase of entropy. All natural processes are irreversible and they tend to increase entropy. This is the principle of increase of entropy. I repeat, we have seen that in the irreversible process, from the observer point of view, there is an increase in entropy. That is, change in entropy delta S, that is S2 minus S1 is positive and there is an increase in entropy. This particular statement is known as the principle of increase of entropy. That is, in all natural processes, entropy tends to increase. And when entropy increases, the disorder of the surroundings also goes on increasing, and this reduces the amount of available energy for conversion to useful work. And eventually what will happen, this is known as the Kelvin's second law of thermodynamics. Kelvin concluded that the increase of entropy and thereby disorder in all natural processes, I repeat, the increase in entropy and thereby disorder in all natural processes will cause the entropy of the universe to tend to a maximum. I think I have made it wrong here. The entropy of the universe will tend to a maximum. And this increase in entropy will reduce the amount of available energy for conversion to useful work. Thus, the Kelvin's second law in the restated form is that the available energy of the universe tends to zero. Now, the Nernst law, which is also known as the third law of thermodynamics, it speaks about perfect crystals. Now, in crystals, we know that there is a perfect order in which the molecules are arranged. And this perfect arrangement of molecules located in specific places, unable to move from their place, this perfect arrangement or perfect order in crystals with molecules located at specific lattice points, this causes complete order and therefore the entropy of crystalline substances is zero. The entropy of crystalline substances is zero. This is known as the third law of thermodynamics. It is also known as the Nernst law. Now, what has to be discussed in conclusion is the TS diagram for a Carnot cycle. Now, we have already discussed the Carnot cycle at the beginning, where we drew 4 separate lines for 2 adiabatics and 2 isothermals. Now, here I have drawn the same Carnot cycle, but here we have the entire cycle named as A, B, C and D. AB is the isothermal, CD is the other isothermal, then BC, you can see it is steeper, it is the adiabatic, AD is also another adiabatic. Together, these form a cycle starting from this point A and coming back to A. This Carnot cycle is represented on an indicator diagram. Now I am going to take it from there and place it on a TS diagram, that is a temperature entropy diagram. And you can see the process AB is an isothermal, and in isothermals, as I have already stated, there is a change in entropy because there is exchange of heat to the surroundings. So Q is non-zero. Therefore, there is a change in entropy, that is delta S also is non-zero for an isothermal. And of course, since it is an isothermal and it occurs at a delta T is 0. So AB occurs at constant temperature, but there is change in entropy from this point to this point. There is a change in entropy here. Okay. So it is this change in entropy which occurs along the isothermal from A to B. Again, along the adiabatic BC, there is no exchange of heat with the surroundings, therefore there will be no entropy change. Thus, delta S is equal to 0. There is no change in entropy. At the same time, temperature changes from T1 to T2. It is an adiabatic. It is not isothermal, so there is change in temperature, and there is this change in temperature occurs from T1 to T2. In the next step, CD, since there is exchange of heat, there is a change in entropy given by Q2 by T2. And it is that Q2 by T2 that occurs here. Q2 by T2. And here the change in entropy is Q1 by T1. So together we have two isothermals where the entropy changes are Q1 by T1 and Q2 by T2. Here again along dA it is an adiabatic, so it is a vertical line since there is no change in entropy at any point of time. Delta S is 0, and of course there is a delta T, there is a change in temperature from T2 to T1. So these are the 4 steps involved in the Carnot cycle, and you can see the adiabatics are vertical lines because there is no change in entropy, and the isothermals are horizontal lines. The adiabatics, you can see here, in the 4 steps the isothermals are horizontal lines since there is no change in temperature. The adiabatics are vertical lines since there is no change in entropy. Together these 4 steps together constitute the Carnot cycle, and we know that for a Carnot cycle Q1 by T1 is equal to Q2 by T2. Therefore, delta S, we have these 2 steps for delta S, change in entropy. Delta S is Q1 by T1 along AB, and delta S is Q2 by T2 along CD. Together, we know that the total change in entropy is 0 for a reversible cycle, and therefore, delta S is Q1 by T1, that is again equal to Q2 by T2. And we know that mathematically Q1 by T1 equals Q2 by T2 can be rewritten as Q1 minus Q2 by T1 minus T2. We know, therefore, delta S is Q1 by T1 is equal to Q2 by T2. When Q1 by T1 is equal to Q2 by T2, we can write or rewrite that delta S is Q1 minus Q2 by T1 minus T2. Now, the area under the TS diagram is AB into BC. Now AB we know is delta S and BC we know is delta T. BC is T2 minus T1. AB is S2 minus S1, which we now have found out to be Q1 minus Q2 by T1 minus T2. Thus substituting these values AB into BC, the area under the TS diagram becomes delta S into delta T, which is delta S Q1 minus Q2 by T1 minus T2, and delta T is T1 minus T2. And we get the result of the area under the TS diagram as Q1 minus Q2, which is the work done in the Carnot's cycle. So that's all regarding entropy. Thank you.